It's time now for County-Wide, a presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. You'll hear about the interesting issues and happenings that affect all our lives. Here's today's County-Wide.
Well, a good day to you and welcome to the program. I'm Brad Miller and we're happy to have you come to County-Wide with us. And I know you expect some interesting information. And today we've got a couple of guests that have not visited with us before, and they should be. It's to my shame that I say that Don Morgan and John Harris have not been in the studio before, because they are here to help every single one of us. Both guys deeply involved in the search and rescue efforts in and around Yavapai County. And I'm going to have each of you kind of introduce yourselves and your particular titles. John, let me start with you. You're the chairman of the YCSR team. Is that right?
That's correct. I'm the current chairman. My term ends at the end of the year, but I've been doing that for 2 years. I'm also the manager of the 4x4 unit for YCSRT.
Okay, gotcha. And Don Morgan?
Yes, I'm the assistant captain of Verde Search and Rescue.
Okay, come on up on that mic a little bit there,
Yep.
John. Yes, hear you good and loud, Don.
Assistant captain
Perfect.
of Verde Search and Rescue. Also on the technical ropes team, mountain bike unit. I'm a flanker for the K9 unit, and on the 4x4 unit.
All right, you guys keep busy. One of the things that already has kind of blown my mind, we were at one of the National Night Out events, and there were a couple of the search and rescue canines there, and I gave them a card, and then so on, and we started to kind of chat. And Don, you and I initiated kind of getting together, and even in our emails, I started to find out there is so much that I've been here 30 years, and I thought I knew what y'all did. And to some point, I think most people are familiar and are grateful you're here, but it is complex. And there are a lot of parts to this to make this such a well-oiled machine, to have such good success rates in going out and finding folks. And it's not just tourists either. There's locals of us that still go out and maybe disregard some good advice and need the search and rescue team. So we're grateful to have you there. Let's talk a little bit about that. John, you were giving me a real good start. Well, Don, I think you were going to give me kind of an omnibus overview of how this works. You're not all just one big organization working out of one big building.
That is correct. That is correct. We kind of the high level overview is that, as John mentioned before we started the interview, in the state of Arizona, the sheriff's office is responsible for all search and rescue activities within the county. And then there's a wide range of mission types. Let's say so you have lost and missing hikers, overdue people, children who've kind of walked away, people with Alzheimer's or dementia that have walked away. Autistic people. We also do fire and flood evacuation, door-to-door notifications. We do the stranded motorist rescues on Forest Service roads. So if someone goes out in their 4x4 and gets stranded, we'll go out and rescue the people. They have to recover their vehicle. We assist various fire departments within the county on carryouts, because they handle all of the emergency kind of injury type of things. But if they need assistance with carrying a patient out, we'll assist with that.
Hiker with a broken leg.
Gotcha. Absolutely. Evidence searches for the sheriff's office. We do body recovery in the wilderness areas, and then any mutual aid responses for neighboring counties like Coconino, Maricopa. So that's kind of like in a broad, nutshell thing is kind of what our units do. That is a lot. Yep.
I mean, every time that phone rings, you kind of know what you're going to be doing, but not really.
Yeah,
which of those scenarios?
Yes, it really varies. It really varies. And then Verde Search and Rescue, we handle the east side of the mountain, we say.
Okay.
So we handle Sedona and the Verde Valley. YCSRT and Jeep Posse handle kind of the west side of Mingus Mountain. Okay. Prescott Valley and those areas.
And that makes sense, John, because it's such a big county geographically, and we're also divided by one giant, lovely thing called Mingus Mountain, generally.
That's correct.
And so that kind of two sides seems to make perfect sense to me.
Well, it's the response time. You bet. When usually people wait before they call, and so they've already been out there stranded for 2 or 3 hours because they think they're going to get out, and then they don't. And so it's about response time too. We get our team together, we look at our map, we decide what's the best route and how we're going to get there and how we're going to get out.
Right. Right.
So that's what we're looking at.
And we're called out by the sheriff's office. So we have Forest Patrol deputies. That's a unit specific under the sheriff that we work with closely. They get a 911 call for someone that's lost in the wilderness. They figure out what resources they need. They contact the specific units, depending on which side, or maybe all of us, and then we respond to the call out.
So we use technology, Brad, quite significantly. We have a call out system that when we get it, it has all the information of what the call out is, who, what, when, where.
Right.
It also contains a map with a location,
Okay.
or last known point of the individual. And we all download that onto our tablets or our phones. So we can, and it also allows the sheriff's office to track us.
Sure.
In live time. We're kind of limited because if we don't have cell coverage, they can't see where we're going at that moment. But every time we get cell coverage, it updates the map.
Sure.
Those maps are important because if we're on an event that is criminal, that map can show what we did, where we went. If it's a search for a lost person, it helps the sheriff's office determine other areas that need to be searched because they can see everywhere one of our vehicles or one of our people went, including our dogs. Our dogs are tracked the same way. It all is put on a map.
Right. And you said something really critical in there that I think a lot of us don't kind of think about, so that everybody knows where you guys are. If you've got a 6-year-old who gets lost during a monsoon storm, that's awful. But you send out rescue and everybody's going to want to get out there. But now all of a sudden you've got, 30 or 40 people out in the storm. And if those folks aren't trained, aren't disciplined, and aren't part of the team that you guys have helped create, now you've got potentially a bigger problem. You're putting your life at risk to go out and find that 6-year-old every time in a situation like that.
You know, we joke amongst ourselves, you don't want a fire or a rescue named after you.
Yeah.
So, we focus on that in our training.
Right.
And so it's very critical for the SO to understand where we are and where we've been. And, I mean, I've had radio calls where they say, hey, there's a wash off to your left. Could you have somebody go down in that wash?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
And
we're relying on technology more and more every day. And as the satellite capabilities come in, that's increasing what we're doing also. And it's changed so much in just 2 years, you wouldn't believe it.
Oh, I believe it. We do it here at our station,
I'm sure
too.
you do.
And when it goes wrong, our listeners here are the first to know. One thing along that line, I've read just kind of anecdotally, I'd love to hear you guys' impressions of this, that when folks get out in the wilderness, they can get a false sense of security because of that very technology. Well, I got my GPS. I can go anywhere because I know where my car is. I get right back to it. And that fails them either with a phone runs out or it's not that simple.
Well, I would tell you that Google's a great thing, but when we have bad weather, let's say across Interstate 40 at the north, sometimes Google gives them alternate routes, which sends them into harm's way.
Right.
And last winter, on just one call, we touched 11 vehicles and 22 people who were on a muddy road where they should have never have been. And it happens all the time, and people drive by warning signs that says this is not, your GPS is wrong, this isn't where you should be, and yet they do, and it's that false sense as you spoke about.
And most people also, they typically just have their cell phone, right? And then they're using it for other things while they're out on a hike, other than saving the battery. Then they get into trouble, and then they maybe can make a 911 call, and then possibly they've made it, and then boom, the phone's dead.
If they're overnight,
they've used it for light source, so they don't have a second means of,
Right.
Or the right app to actually navigate, because not all apps work. They need cellular service for the map, whereas you have other apps that actually don't require cellular service. You can have a map, and you're hopefully good to go.
I'm going to ask you a question, put you on the spot a little bit here.
Sure.
How many, if there's such thing as a typical hiker, a couple, a man and woman, 30 years old, married, love each other, they hike, they're somewhat experienced, goes out. Typically, how prepared is any given operator that heads out there?
I would say
20,
I would say most people are prepared.
Yeah?
Really, because we don't.
Most people
we don't
come
rescue.
back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's the ones I don't maybe I don't know 20%.
I don't know if there's an answer. I'm just really curious.
It's
what
more.
popped in
It's
your mind.
more like, and we can talk about it later about preparation. Watching the forecast,
Having
having
a
the right
checklist.
amount of water. Depending on what type of season you're in, the type of clothing you have, food, things like letting people know if you're traveling by yourself, which you really shouldn't be, hiking and stuff, you've told someone, where you're going, when you're expected to come back, that kind of thing. You know, we prefer to have people hike out in groups or do wilderness activities in groups, but not everybody can. So those kind of things. So,
and the weather is the variable. I mean,
and a lot of people are coming, visiting the area from other places like the Midwest, and they are not familiar with the lack of humidity here.
We've sent just videos of locally some washes during flash floods. That are accessible to our home, to family I've got back east, and they can't believe how fast that water. Look at this awful thing that happened in Central Texas.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's,
And it's raining somewhere else, and it might not be raining where you're at, and then all of a sudden it's coming down the wash.
Incredible. Guys, we really appreciate the work you do. We need to take another short break. Lots of good information to come yet this morning. Talking search and rescue efforts across Yavapai County. Don Morgan, John Harris, our guests. It's countywide. We're back right after this.
Life changes, then it changes again. Predicting the unexpected in life is impossible. That's why it's called unexpected. So when it comes to financial goals, our philosophy is don't predict, prepare. Hi, I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Matthias Sandoval. A job loss, change in health, or a loss of a loved one can have a big impact on your family's financial security. Let's work together to help make sure you're equipped for life's unexpected events. Call our office to schedule a face-to-face appointment.
Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Verde Solaire, your hometown heating, air conditioning, and plumbing company in the Verde Valley. And your trusted North Central Arizona Goodman dealer. Goodman is a name you can trust with the revolutionary Comfort Bridge technology factory installed into select Goodman gas furnaces and air handlers to ensure the entire system operates at peak energy efficient performance. Verde Solaire offers free in-home estimates, locally owned and operated since 1983. Visit them at verdesolaire.com. Better, cleaner, faster.
Thank you so very much for your generosity and kindness in helping others. I hope that you take advantage of the many Arizona state tax credits available when giving to qualified charities and schools. If you haven't taken advantage, I hope you'll ask your favorite charity if they qualify. You can go to Arizona Department of Revenue website, search for tax credits, and look at the list of qualifying charities. Then look at your latest Arizona income tax return and see how an Arizona tax credit can benefit many. This is Lewis saying thanks again.
As the days get shorter and the nights cooler, make sure your future is wrapped in the right protection. Jonna Randall Murdoch, your local Farm Bureau agent, is ready to help you simplify and protect what matters most: your home, your car, your life, and your future. Jonna offers competitive pricing with a relationship-first approach that puts you at the center of every decision. Call Jonna Randall Murdoch today at 928-649-8686, located on Villa Drive in Cottonwood. Farm Bureau Financial Services. It's your future. Let's protect it.
Welcome back to the program. It's Countywide. I'm Brad Miller, and again, John Harris, Don Morgan, our guest today. And these guys are high up and experienced in the search and rescue efforts that go across a number of different entities, all under the umbrella of Yavapai County, in our county, in Yavapai County. To keep all of those parts communicating the right way. We hear after 9/11, a great example is federal government and all those problems communicating among agencies. That's got to be something you work on constantly to make sure that Don's people know what your people are doing. And
with three entities, the YCSRT group has an overhead meeting every month.
Okay.
And the VerdeSAR participates along with GPOSSE. So it's one time a month where all the top management of the units are together. It also allows the Force Patrol Sergeant, who is kind of our mentor, to address us with things that they want us to be up on. Our training is all the same. There are the specialty units, but our basic training is all the same regardless of what unit you're in. And that is part of the communication. We have a volunteer coordinator that is an employee of the sheriff's office who keeps all the units informed of anything that the sheriffs want us to do.
Okay.
So, the communication thing is key. We try to, if somebody discovers something that works really well in the field, they share it with us, with the other units. And that's one of the reasons why we attend each other's meetings, is so that We know what they're doing. They know what we're doing. There's no secret squirrel stuff going on, so to speak.
And in the field, when we're out on an actual mission, we use radios, obviously.
Sure.
If we have cellular service, we use those. Some of us carry what are Garmin InReaches or Zolios, which are satellite devices that you can send text messages through with a subscription, things like that. So if we don't have radio or cell, we can communicate through the Zolio. There's a new technology coming out that T-Mobile is going to have, T-Satellite. We're looking into that as a possibility. So the whole idea is that when we're out on a mission in areas where we have limited to no cell service, we can still, or radio communication,
right.
We can still communicate in some manner via satellite.
Right.
Our 4x4 vehicles have 50-watt radios, so they can go a longer range and communicate where we can't carry such a large radio, so we carry more like a handheld.
Right.
So that as a mission aspect goes, that's how we communicate.
When you're outfitted, and I knew my guests were here this morning because I just saw the Jeeps y'all are driving.
Yep.
And I just thought there's a little bit of military to what you do. There's a bunch of medical to what you do.
Yes,
there's a tiny bit of police to what there's a little bit of everything to what you do. And again, coordinating all of that in an agency of what did you tell me? 8,000 square miles.
There's 8,000 square miles. We have about 150 active volunteers that service that area. We do around 200 to 250 calls for service every year.
It's the most in the state.
That's a lot.
We're either first or second in the state. It's not a competition.
No.
But, that's what we do. You don't have to have a Jeep to be a member. You can be an observer because we try to have 2 people in every vehicle.
Yeah.
Navigation is key, and being able to use the radio. We have 16 channels, which we use just in Yavapai County, which are ours. And we also have all the other agencies within the state. We've got about 129 to 150 channels on our radios that we have access to. So if we go to Mojave County, for example, we can actually talk with the sheriff's office there on our radios. They don't have to give us a radio.
And that initial training, you talked about the specializations. We're going to follow along. I'll save that for the end. How we're going to do this over the course of a year. I think I have a number of programs highlighting search and rescue, and we'll get into some of those specializations.
Sure.
But you mentioned, John, that kind of a tier that's basic to everybody. I've never seen a search and rescue person, I think, that doesn't physically fit. Well, that's got to be a big part of. I mean, you're in the Jeep now, but you might be walking soon. So carrying who knows what.
We do an interview process to just talk to the person, and then we do a fitness walk where we have them. We actually just take them out, walk for a couple of miles with a 25-pound pack, and get them to talk about themselves. It also shows them what they might be doing.
Yeah,
because when you're walking, the terrain sometimes can be significant.
Right,
and once you're a member, you need to recertify in a fitness test every 2 years.
Yeah, for your own safety as much as anything.
All our units train about a minimum of 11 times a year in the field. It's usually about a 2/3 day training, like 5 to 6 hours. And a lot of our training is the standard stuff that we do, but it's also stuff that we've learned on missions where we got into a situation. We want everybody else to know how we solve that. And every mission that we do an after-action report, and we list what our lessons learned, if there were any, or what went wrrong and how we corrected it.
As we're already going to be wrapping up here pretty quick, so I want to ask each of you that. John, I'll start with you along that very line. There's got to be when I say, what was a mission you learned something really valuable and you use that info to this day? Is there one that sticks out in your mind?
Well, I think there's not any one. The thing is we look at every mission when we're done. It comes down to, could we have done something different? Sometimes it's our approach.
Right.
Going to Sheep's Bridge at the end of Bloody Basin, there is actually more than one way to get there. We can go out Bloody Basin Road, which is a nice 37-mile, 2.5-hour drive. Or you can go down to Cave Creek and come up Forest Road 24 and cut off 25 miles. You still got the worst part of the road in front of you. But if we're dealing with monsoonal conditions where washes are full of water, you might want to come out through Cave Creek because you eliminate 3 significant washes that could have water in them.
Right.
So that's kind
of the only way to learn it is to do it.
Right. And then we have those missions where you can't make it up.
Right.
You know, we had the lady that got stuck at Sheep's Bridge a couple of years ago when it was 120 degrees. We went and got her, and then she said, I have all these hanging plants in the back of my vehicle, and they're my husband's, and he just passed away, and they're special plants to me. Can we bring those with us? So you picture 4 vehicles driving Black Bloody Bison Road with hanging plants in the backs swinging around. You can't make this up, Brad.
But you did it.
Yeah, we did it.
You know, that speaks volumes to the character that goes along
right
with what it was.
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody was a lady, we just saved your life, hang the plants.
Right.
And she said, yes, hang them in your Jeep, let's get out of here.
Brad, she was very appreciative.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, you know, and that reminds me, there's probably going to be a lot of folks out there with pets along, so they're going to need to be cared for too.
We saved 4 cats.
You bet.
One night.
You bet.
It took us 20 minutes to round them up in the trailer, but we got them.
Cat herding.
Yes.
Don, same kind of thing. What pops into your head?
One specifically kind of pops that happened a couple of years ago is we had a local, actually, female hiker that was reported she was lost near Devil's Bridge. And then when she called 911, her phone actually pinged near AZ Cypress, Dawa, in Sedona. I don't know if you're familiar with that area. And she started hiking around 2. We got the call out around, I think, 5. And so the deputy had to send, we had the location where she said she was and where her actual ping was
right.
about 2 miles apart.
Okay.
So we sent teams to both locations. Once we had the deputy had located her vehicle which was closer to the Dawa Trail area, all resources were then sent there. Our team that I was on, Team 1, we hiked toward the subject's ping, and then we got into Dry Creek where we found a water bottle and tracks. And, you can't assume just because you're seeing tracks, it's the track of that person that you're looking for. But there was a water bottle that was recent and current, so we actually, literally a few minutes later, the deputy, said, hey, or actually we called into the deputy and said, hey, we have this water bottle. They had family there, and they could say, yes, that's her water bottle. So as we were searching, and then the track, must have paced the wash, because you could see tracks going up and then coming back in and coming out and coming back in. We started calling out, and we heard something, and then it sounded like a coyote, actually. And we initially first were like, well, those are coyotes, and then we called out again, and we could tell it was a person, and she was screaming, so we would keep yelling, and she would scream, so we get actual direction of travel and how far approximately she was away. Once we got to her, she was hysterical. She had been out there all the time. She was scratched up on her legs and her arms because she was in like shorts and a t-shirt, and she was going through just bushwhacking because she was just, she thought she was going to die. Literally, she said that, and we had to take a minute to calm her down. We got her food, we got her water. She was ultimately fine, other than just kind of the whole emotional thing. But she had done a Snapchat video that she was posting online live. So we were able to at least find out relatively where she was, because she had actually taken pictures of trail signs and things. Unfortunately, she had used her battery up, so her phone went dead. But we got to her, we got her in good shape, we got her calmed down.
That's just good old detective work.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. All the training
she was here. She this that.
The state training we do that we had mentioned, the ASARCA training is human tracker training. Area search tactics like clue awareness, things like that. Wilderness survival, we need to be able to be with the subject for a 24-hour period if necessary in the field. Right. So that all those things just go into, we're all state certified.
And those are the kinds of things that I want to explore as we continue this series that we're kind of kicking off today. Yeah. Guys, we're all the way to the end of the show. I know, Don, you wanted to leave with, I think, a website. So if there's anybody who wants, I'm sure you can always use volunteer resources, financial resources. I don't know how that works, but whatever. I know that if folks have questions beyond what they're hearing on the show today, if they can get a hold of you, how do they do that?
For Verde Search and Rescue for the east side of the mountain, Sedona and the Verde Valley, our website is verdesarposse@gmail.com. We also have a Facebook page, Verde Sar Posse. Our meetings are every Monday, the second Monday of the month, start at 6:30 at the Sedona Firehouse in the VOC. We're not having one in December because it's holidays, so if anyone's interested in, coming and checking out what we do, might be interested in search and rescue on this side of the mountain, and that's how to get in touch with us.
Sounds great. Guys, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for what you do. Don Morgan, John Harris, I'm Brad Miller. It's Countywide, and we'll see you next time.
This This has been Countywide. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday at this time. If you have a topic or guest idea that you'd like to suggest, email us, news@myradioplace.com.